So today in the studio on Idiots Go Running, we have John. Say hello, John.
Hey, how's it going?
On our show, we've got a guest who likes to run. Do they really? Do they jog around the place just for fun? That's not fun. Are they a professional athlete? Nope. Lining at the start with the elite? It don't matter. We've got a guest on our show because we asked and they didn't say no. It don't matter because our show has a guest. It does. Pretty much because we asked and they said yes. So, John, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful morning, and I'm ready to do this. Let's get on.
It's a beautiful morning. Where? Tell us whereabouts you are.
So I'm in rural Virginia in a small place called Richardsville. A lot of people joke it's like witness protection. Like, was a criminal in my past life, and this is where I am now. But no, it's a beautiful place. Farmland, very rural, great for running. It's a great place to be a runner. So I love it here.
So just to clear it up, there's no past like criminal history on the show. No, we're all good.
I know serial killers are very popular right now. Lots of documentaries about them on Netflix and stuff. But I'm not that guy. Just a runner.
Yeah, we'll keep our listeners to a minimum with that one. Then with no serial killers on our show. Tell us a bit about yourself. Why you on the show? How did I get you on the show, or did I even get you on the show? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Just kind of came together. I am an idiot, and idiots just find each other. That's just how it goes. I mean, I do a lot of dumb stuff, and basically, I wanted to come on today and talk about Barkley last week, especially. I've got a really good story with that. My girlfriend ran it. I couldn't run. I was so bummed out because I'm injured. It's my favorite race, and she got the marathon finish on it. There's a couple different tiers in that race. You can not finish, you can get a marathon, or you can finish and get the 50K. The marathon's a weird thing. You did finish, but in Laz's mind, you didn't finish. So it's like a weird mental like CIA trick that Laz pulls on you that you did it, but you kind of did it. So like you have to train harder and get the 50K the next year. It's great marketing. I mean, you have to come back at that point. You got to come back to redeem yourself in Laz's eyes. So yeah. So I'm going to, hopefully my knee gets better next year. And I can run it with her, and we both get that 50K.
So what's happened to your knee? What happened? Explain.
So I did a bunch of slow moving, like mountainous ultras early in the year, but I also, my girlfriend likes doing a lot of road races. I do too. But that's what I mainly did when I started, doing, running and stuff like that. But I think I did too many of them while doing like mountainous ultras and not doing like, the speed work and stuff like that. I was like, I'm just going to try to get the sub 25K after doing like 100-miler and stuff like that. So I just overuse injury, and I just got to get smarter about recovery. I'm 44 now. I mean, I'm not old, but I'm not young either. I got to really be more mindful of my body and just, do this actual stuff that runners don't want to do, like stretching and, maybe some yoga on occasion. I mean, like mainly during COVID, I was up till COVID, I was doing all that stuff, like, squats and like, the actual gym work. But, all the races went away during COVID. So like I started doing a lot of those like mileage challenges and stuff like that, because those were our races at the time. So I was just like, I don't got time to, do yoga or whatever. I'm just going to keep running more. So I got in that mindset, and I think that kind of, it finally got up to me. So I got to do more of like a work up to races and be smarter about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love running an ultra every weekend or a marathon or whatever, but I got to be a little bit more careful, at least, about recovery.
Yeah. But is 44 not like the prime age for an ultra runner? This is like you in your prime, Like I'm turning 40, and I'm going happy days. I'm a young thing coming onto this ultra running scene. I'm like a normal runner's 19-year-old. I'm 40, hitting the ultra running scene. You're 44. We're in our prime here. We should be doing something special.
I think what happened for me is this. So like, I didn't really run that much growing up. I mean, like I loved like football and like, sports. This is so funny. Like people get mad at me when I talk like this, but like when I was growing up, I always thought like running was a component of like another sport, like soccer or football or whatever. Like I just was like, that's a part of it. I liked running, but I just didn't have the discipline to be like a runner. I wanted to do something different, whether like play baseball or something like that. But like I was going through divorce when in my 37, and that's pretty much what got me to want to run. I was like, I want to do a marathon, but I feel like your prime is when you start running, because like once you get really deep into the sport, then you start getting the injuries and stuff like that. Because let's be honest, it's addictive. I mean, like once you get into this sport and start doing like especially once you find out ultras, you're like, oh my gosh, you can just do whatever here. You can eat that Pop-Tart. Like it's such a fun community. So like I think even more than the racing and the running itself, just the people in the ultra community are addictive, and you want to be around them. And like the running is just kind of like a thing for me. It's just part of it. Like I just like being around people, and I think that kind of the whole scene just drew me in, and it got me like, even though like I'm not old, I'm 44, but I've done a lot. I've done a lot of races, so I just got to be chill. I got to chill more.
And right, you just mentioned you've done a lot of races, so have you got time to talk us through many of your races? What's your best races, I suppose?
So like I love Barkley. So like this is an idiot story right here. My past with Barkley, basically Barkley Fall Classic was my second trail race, I believe. I did a trail marathon, and I just kind of, I fell in love with the community. And my friend Melinda that I met at the race, she knew this other guy that was going to do Barkley also. And basically, like, I didn't know this other dude. I just picked, she organized for me to pick him up and drive us over to her place. And then this is the ultra community. I had no idea who this dude was. I just picked him up, like, hey, and like basically we go and do the Fall Classic. But like, I barely know Melinda. This is somebody I met at a race. We stayed at her house. I pick up a total stranger like 2 hours away from where I live on the way. I mean, like, it's just an adventure. People that do the sport are super cool. And once I did that and went through that adventure with my friend Eric and Melinda, I was sold. I was like, I love this sport. The people are so cool. But it is changing, though. I mean, it's getting a little bit more type A. A lot of marathoners are doing it, a lot more competitive people. But like, it's still weird, and I like it. But that spot, and like for me, like 2017 to 2019, I think COVID messed everything up, man. Like from 2017 to 19, we had this really cool, weird vibe. Like people were like, I saw, I don't know how true or how honest people are at races, but I bumped into people that were like doing mushrooms on races and stuff. They were like, yeah. I'm like, aren't you going to fall? Like, I don't do any of that stuff. But I mean, I stink as a trail runner to begin with. I would fall if I did that. But like, I would bump into the weirdest people on ultras. I was like, this is the coolest sport. You got people out here doing mushrooms, and drinking beer, taking shots of Fireball.
See, that's the thing about ultras. You're out, you're in the middle of the night, and you haven't slept for I don't know how many hours, and that's when you start to get a wee bit trippy, and you get to see. Yeah. I've had someone on saying he used to every rock was a snowy owl that he's seen. You have Dean Carnazes, who friend of the show, who came on, and he was talking about I think having margaritas or something in mid-race. Yeah. It was in one of his books. And then previously I had another guy on, Andy, and he says his mate crews these, and he just brings burgers and flips burgers for people, and he's now known as the Burger Man, so which I want to get in the show. So like, you have all these weird and wonderful people, and I completely get where you're coming from when you say the ultra running community is just like, the people are legends. They're friendly, they're nice, and they want to help you. And is it really about the time? It's just having a fun adventure, isn't it, really? And I mentioned food. Like, have you come across any, and you mentioned stuff, have you come across any weird food that you've tried while out in the trails?
So the running club I'm with, Virginia Happy Trails Running Club, they almost spoil us. So they do some really hard mountain races in the Massanutten Mountains, like really rocky, technical, just brutal trails. If you ever look up the Massanutten Trail 100 race that they do, like it's just, a lot of it's just you can't run it. I mean, like, it's just speed hiking basically. Yeah, it's just brutal. But they make just out, like, you'll go to an aid station, they're like, hey, you want a Philly cheesesteak? I'm like, what?
Why not? What's with it? What's with it? What's your side?
It's like going to like a Subway or something. It's crazy, but like, that's the kind of food out there. Pizza, buffalo wings, just like anything. Anything you could imagine is out there. Oh, one of my favorites. This is another Happy Trails race. This race of the ring. I got to an aid station, and they were making pancakes. They were like, do you want a pancake with Nutella and a banana inside of it? I was like, yeah, give me that.
Hold on.
It's great.
You have to tell me where these type of trails are. I'm working off. So my my diet is generally plant-based, so I'm working off like vegan sausage rolls and everything. And you know, me and Andrew, we got McDonald's delivered to one of our 100 mile races, and I have never had a nicer McDonald's. And
Delicious.
when you're out in the trail, the food's always nicer. Do you think the food's nicer because you'll eat anything, or the food's nicer because the love and the prep that's been put into the food?
I think both. I mean, like, especially like if you're just, relying on your pack for a while and having gels or something like that, when you get that McDonald's, it's like, this is the best burger I've ever had in my life. I mean, like, I don't like soda. Like I drank a lot when I was a kid, and I try not to drink it now, but like you get that Coke, like an actual Coke on a trail. It's delicious. It's like so good. I mean, like that alone will take you to the next aid station. It's great.
Oh, I hear that because I had the option actually of an aid station of fizzy Coke or flat Coke. Never happened before. And it's like, do you want fizzy or flat? And I was like, I'll go flat because don't want to upset my stomach. I don't drink Coca-Cola much. And I don't know how many glasses of that stuff I took. I think it's because when you're out running, you're doing these distances, you're going, I don't care. Doesn't bother me. You just take whatever you want because it gets you through the race, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, you just reminded me of something. This should have came to mind right away. I think it was 2 years ago when I did the Barkley Fall Classic. We got to a turnaround at like the hardest point of the race. And I thought I was seeing something at first. John Kelly, like a Barkley Marathons finisher, was there. He was giving us straight up pizza and cans of Coke. I was like, I've never seen this before. Like, is this like authorized? Am I going to get DQ'd? Am I going to get DQ'd for taking this? Is this a trick? Where's Laz?
He was setting you up. He's in the bushes with a camera recording everyone who takes a slice of pizza.
Yeah, it was a setup. This is a setup. But it was funny because it was a turnaround. So when I was going the opposite direction back, I was telling people, I was like, John Kelly's there with Coke and pizza. They were like, it was awesome.
How long have you been running for? Are you hallucinating this? No, I promise you.
Oh yeah, it was like people were just like, what? And like, when they probably saw him, they're like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Because like it was such a great pickup because it was rainy, muddy. I was sliding all over the place. Like I was like, it was like a really low point of the race for me. I was just all over. I felt like I couldn't run. I was just again sliding into briars, just low confidence. But it just picked me up. It was just such a great mental boost just seeing him out there. He was wearing his Barkley stuff too when he finished the race, like his pack and everything. Like I said, if you wouldn't have known any better, especially after that point you're at, you would think you were like having a hallucination. It was a really awesome time.
Did it actually happen? So you spoke about Barkley's there. Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
Did that really happen? That'd be funny. John will contact you. That did not happen, John. You were actually incapacitated from that course.
Well, explain the pizza, and meanwhile your hand's empty.
It was it's like the twist, like the Fight Club twist. He wasn't there. There was no pizza. You were eating dirt off the ground, John.
Do you know what? I wouldn't put it past you because them Barkley's. I read. Or I seen a video about a guy who had disappeared off, and he started talking to a rubbish can we call over here, but a trash can, yeah. And he's kind of a bit of a legend. So explain the Barkleys. So you said you did the Barkleys, but is there two different types of Barkleys? Because some people might not understand.
Yeah, this is a common. And the first time I ran the Fall Classic, I thought that I was about to do the big Barkley, and like my friend Eric was like, "No, you're not about to do that." So like, main difference between the two again is the distance. Like it's the Fall Classic is a 50K, and the Barkley Marathons is a little over 100 miles. The marathons also has a lot of other scary aspects also. So like, there's no signage. You have to know where you're going off a map. And there's book pages. So like, not only do you have to know where you're going, you need to know specifically where you're going to get these book pages so you can show Laz that you went to those locations on the map. So that's really hard because the navigational aspect and the course from my understanding is harder than, I mean, they're both hard, but from my understanding it's harder than the 50K. Like some of the spots people were talking about from the race last year, like just like huge, I mean, like just like soul crushing climbs and stuff like that. And the Fall Classic has those also, but like the scary thing for me, if you're thinking about applying to the Barkley Marathons, this might give you pause also. If if they're saying that there's stuff like harder than on the 50K course out there, some of the locations on the big one, that should terrify you. Generally, you should do the Fall Classic. Yeah, do the Fall Classic and see what's on there first, because like that might just deter you right there. Like, I'm good. I never want, you know what? Screw this race and screw that race. I'm not doing either of them anymore.
Yeah. But you know what? You know, there's something in that being so blind at going, I'm just going to go for it. Whether if you go on something small, you're thinking this is small, just ignore it and go for it. That would be my advice: is just jump in 2 feet and just go for the whole hog, because you'll put yourself off.
That's how I went to the first time I did in 2017. Again, like I thought we were doing the big one, but like I knew it was so, because of like the legend of this race, it's going to be hard. But like, yeah, you're right. There is some of that, because I got a marathon the first time I did. At least I didn't like straight up DNF it, but it took me 2 marathons to get the 50K, because it's that hard. I had to really become a better runner, and that's a good thing with Laz. I mean, he does push you to perfection on there, just to at least like get that 50K, because you're good. Getting that marathon, it's going to rile you up to, want to aspire to do more, or it might not. I mean, I'm sure there's some people like, oh, okay, I'm good. But if you look at the numbers on this race, if you do the Fall Classic, more than likely you're going to come back. Most people don't, they don't just do it one time and just they're done. Most people come back, or at least volunteer, or want to do something with the race in some capacity, because there's nothing like it. I mean, it's an ultra, but I would say it's more like an obstacle course race, because I mean, a lot of it's just not running. I mean, some people can run down like, straight down like mountains and stuff like that. I have to like butt slide, and like it's crazy too, because you'll see people out there with ripped shorts, like like stuff just hanging out. You're just like, oh my gosh, it looks like we're like animals out there. I mean, like, and the funny thing is, we paid for this. It's not like a cheap race either. I mean, people want, I think the selling point of the race right now in today's age is that like people don't want a participation trophy. They want to do something they might fail on, and they want to use it to push them to get better. And I think that's the allure of it.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. And so, start this race, how many people are you talking is at the starting line? Are we talking big numbers or small numbers?
So for a trail race, it is pretty big. I want to say like it was over 400 this year. I want to say like 460 or something. Yeah. It's a lot of people. And I want to say, that must
be messy running through that there space, is it? It's just carnage. You say slipping down and just carnage.
If it's wet too, if it's wet, like the trail is totally screwed. Like it doesn't even look like real life. Like somebody it's funny, like you do it and it's crazy, and you're seeing a bunch of crazy stuff. Like you're like, it's like a war movie, like Saving Private Ryan or something. You're just like, this is crazy. There's like people flying everywhere, but like it's even crazier when like people record it. Like me myself, I would never bring my phone on that race, because it's probably gonna get broken. I'm a klutz out there. Anything on me, I expect to break or get ripped up or wet. But like somebody posted a video of us one year, just a bunch of adults just sliding down a mountain. Like we're like in this mud. It's like a slip and slide. It's crazy. Or just like butt sliding down, or like climbing up. I think one of my lowest points going up, I'm sure you're familiar with Rat Jaw, right? One of the hardest climbs on the race. So Rat Jaw.
No, I'm not. Go explain.
So there's so much crazy with this race. So like you go through a prison getting to Rat Jaw. You go through an actual prison, and then you climb up this giant just briary, just horrible mountain. But it was so muddy one year, I took sticks and was just like using it to like to climb up the mountain. But like you'll use briars. You have to bring gloves to this race, because like if you don't, I mean, you're gonna cut up your hands just like climbing up this thing. You have to bring them. You're either climbing on like a fallen down power line up it, or you're like using briars, you're using sticks, you're using anything to get up it. It's crazy.
This sounds like a show I was watching called The Walking Dead. Have you seen it?
Oh, it's funny. Like if you look at pictures of people on it, you're like, that's what it looks like. You're like, this. You look like an extra from The Walking Dead, or like just like one of the zombies. Yeah, it looks exactly like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they filmed some episodes around there, because it would be a great place. It gets really creepy, the fog and stuff like that. And again, there's a prison right there, like on The Walking Dead, and I think that was season 2. So yeah, you got that. There's a lot of things similar.
Yeah, that's that. Do you know what? If I could get across the water, it's definitely a race that I would be all up for having a go with, because it just sounds right up my street. It sounds like an adventure, and it just sounds absolute fun. And you say, how many times have you done this?
I've done it 5, and I don't think I'm in for life. There's no getting out now. Like my girlfriend, I have to get. Yeah, I'm in for life. I couldn't run away from this race if I tried. So I'm gonna try to do it this time. Coming up with my girlfriend. So
Get
registration.
the 50K.
Yeah, registration opens up, I think, in like a week or two. It's usually like a week after the race. I wouldn't be surprised if it opens up this week or the next one. And then it's a lottery. So once you put in for it, then they make their selections on who gets in. But the good thing is, there's good and bad thing. There's a lot of people that drop out like last minute. Like if you want to get in and you just stick it through, I mean, it'd be harder for you, of course, because you have to make more logistical plans. You can't go like a week. You can't like just be like, okay, 2 days before the race, I'm going to do this. No, you have to plan it out. There's a lot of international runners that go there. Like there was some sad stories too. There was one runner in particular from Brazil. He couldn't get a visa in time to come over. Like he was like in a process. Yeah, I forget the exact story because everything happened so fast. Like on the volunteering, it was crazy. I met his son on the race. Like I was like, hey, where are you from, man? He was like, I'm from Brazil. And I was like, oh, I heard about this other runner from Brazil that couldn't go. And he was like, that's my dad. So like, it was like, it was so cool. But like, but they really try to cater to international runners. Like they love international runners to run it. And the funny thing too, this is so cool. So like, I'd say like, out of all the races I've done a bunch of races. This is the one that probably caters the most to international runners. I've met so many people from around the world doing this race. Everyone comes, they know how hard this race is. I mean, so everyone comes to do it. I mean, it's something special that, it's special because everyone travels from all over to see it. It's wonderful.
That's exactly, I suppose it's the allure of even the word Barclays. It's just the allure of that word. You say that word in ultra run, you're like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But so we're talking about finishing races and medals, which is a nice segment to bring me on to Andrew's question. Unfortunately, Andrew can't be here in the studio with us today, but Andrew always has a question, and I always apologize. Here we go.
Imagine that you have just won an ultra marathon race called the Pizza 100, but you don't get a normal belt buckle. You get a belt buckle made out of pizza. And it's fantastic. It looks amazing. It's about the size of your hand. It says Pizza 100 and it's done in such great detail and it looks amazing and you just want to eat it. Do you eat it on the spot, there and then? But then you've got nothing to show for winning the Pizza 100. Or do you keep your pizza belt buckle and try to preserve it some way? Let me know your thought process. What do you do?
All right, so this is an easy answer for me. I eat it right on spot. I mean, if somebody takes a picture of me right before with it, cool, but that is going to get eaten, especially if it's pizza, because pizza is near and dear to me. And after a race, I'm usually famished. I'm not one of those people that can't, like, I have a lot of friends that can't eat anything after a race. They're like, oh, my stomach. And this year, going back to Barkley, I could see that because it was really hot. And, like, there was a lot of people that had, like, hydration issues and stuff like that. So yeah, but I still, even with those problems, I would have fought through the pain, and I would have done that, that belt buckle justice. I would have eaten everything, every last bit. But I would have made sure somebody takes a picture beforehand, because as long as you have the picture, you have the medal essentially. But you gotta eat the pizza. Wow. You can't let it sit. You gotta eat it.
I thought that would be a harder one, because when I have a medal, I like the medals. I hang all my medals in my gym, and they're all sitting there in a nice wee line with all the times on the back of them, which I suppose, what do you do with all your medals?
Oh boy, so a lot of them, this is going to sound really bad, a lot of them are just in boxes, because I mean, like, and this is part of, yeah, I know, so this is part of the reason why I want to, even over like injury and stuff like that, I want to just take more time to enjoy races. And when I do a race with my girlfriend, we hang up stuff. But like, I got to a point where, before we got together, I was just running stuff week after week and probably not respecting the race as much as I could have. Like, like I didn't have like pride in races because I was doing them week after week. And I just, just kind of like winging it every time. I think if you wing a race, you don't appreciate it as much. And I don't want to have that mindset. I want to appreciate the race more, take the time to train so I actually do better on the race, and just, enjoy it more. And, I think if you go about it that way, it's more memorable. If you do a race every week and just you don't care as much, it's just transactional. It's almost like, you're just, there's not as much care in prep that goes into it. So you don't appreciate it as much. Well, it also, so like I've given medals to friends, like, if I have somebody that's having a bad day, or like, there's a situation going on, I know with them, sometimes I'll run for other people and like give them the medal, or like, like a fallen family member or something, like I'll give them the medal. Like, so like, I like to, I like to use that because, people like that. People like medals, and if like I've gotten my share, like I'm not like bragging or anything, but I've done a lot of races. So I'm like, I have enough medals. I'd rather use them to make somebody else's day happier.
Yeah, I've never. Do you know what? That is a really, really nice sentiment. I've never ever heard that before. Where is it nearly running a race in memory of someone and then handing that medal over to them? That's a really, really nice sentiment. Is there any other wild, wonderful stories you want to share with us today? Give us one. Give us one really good story. Yeah, one really good, solid story that whenever you're with a group of friends, you sit down and everybody just hangs on your every word that you say.
I'll try. I'll try to live up to that. But
Cool.
Part of the reason why I'm injured, I did a crazy race early on in the year called the Wild Oak Trail 100 here in Virginia. Really low key race. It's kind of like Barkley, but it's not. It's its own thing. I wouldn't say it's like trying to be Barkley or anything like that. It's just its own thing. But it's 100 miles. I want to say each loop. It's a looped course. It's like 26 miles, I think. So you end up going over 100 miles, but each loop has like 8,000 feet of vert. And it's not overly technical, but there's some spots like towards the end of the loop that are really rocky. And so I did this earlier in the year in January, I think it was January, February. And I think I want to say it's like a 48-hour cutoff or something. I forget the exact cutoff time, but like it's a long time. So like they know you're going to be slow moving throughout the course. So it's just a lot of time out there. There's no real aid stations out there. You're kind of self-supported. And the funny thing is like where you park your car at the trailhead in the beginning of the loop, basically that's where you have like all your gear and everything. So you're refilling. If you need to sleep, you just sleep in the car. But I was taking like maybe like every other loop, I was like taking a nap and like maybe for like an hour or so, if that. So I got like really loopy out there towards the end of the race. Yeah, like I saw like cartoon characters, and it wasn't like actually like it was weird. It wasn't like because like when you wear the headlamp at night, like it wasn't like a straight up hallucination, but just certain things looked like something. Like I swore, like I looked over a tree, and I saw Stephen Seagal. Like remember the '80s like action guy?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so
I do.
I saw him. I was like, ah! And then like I got to this really foggy part out there, and all I could think of was like unfortunately going back to serial killers. I was like, there's somebody after me. Like, so like I kept like getting paranoid. I kept like getting scared. Like I at one point I thought I saw Pikachu. There was this tree that got like hit by lightning or something like a while back that was just like kind of like frayed and like crazy looking. It looked like Pikachu's like hair and stuff like that. And like, yeah, I was just so tired and just out of it. I was just kind of like walking and like falling over for no reason. I would have like felt if I could have, I would have fallen asleep just like doing dirt naps out there because I was so tired. But it was raining, so like I just didn't want to sleep in the wet rain. But yeah, that race was awesome. But that's the first time I've ever hallucinated. I was like, when people would tell me, I'm like, there's no way. They were like, I didn't believe it. But like, yeah. If you're doing a slow moving race like that and you just get that tired, it can definitely happen, especially with the headlamp. I mean, like I'd seen like kind of weird stuff in the past before, just when I get tired, but nothing like this. Like I actually like got scared at times. I thought I saw stuff. And then if something looked kind of like it was just like this weird like state that you get, and I've never been in before, like where like you're so tired, you're awake, but like you are kind of like dreaming at the same time. It's like a weird like kind of like portal you go into that you're just like things get a little bit weird. And then after the race too, this didn't help much because like I was wet and I was tired and I was like lazy too because I mean I'd been out there, I forget the exact amount of hours I was out there doing this race. I should be more prepared. I apologize, but it was a long time and it was wet. Basically, from volunteering, I had a squirrel costume in my trunk, like like just like the giant fluffy squirrel costumes. I basically, yeah, I know runner stuff, but like I just stripped down to like like I just put on like a pair of boxers real quick because it was raining. I just wanted to get into some clothes real fast. I just put that on, and then I slept for like maybe an hour because that's the thing I have problems with. Like after a race, I can't just fall asleep right away, especially if I'm like wearing a squirrel costume in my car. I mean, I can't get comfortable. I've been sleeping. Anytime I took my naps was in that car. I've been living in.
Did you actually say you struggle to get comfortable in your car when you're wearing a squirrel costume?
Yeah, well, you're tired. You're just like you're trying to get comfy. Yeah, I'm wearing a squirrel costume. Nothing's going right. You're like
that's probably the only time in a podcast ever that anyone's going to use that phrase. Yeah, it's hard. Have you ever tried sleeping in a squirrel costume in the back of the car? Yeah. That's a tough one. But continue on. That's class. Love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, even worse though. I was hungry after that, so like I slept maybe like an hour, just enough so I could like be tired. Just enough so I could like maybe drive a little bit competently, and then like maybe like have to pull over later. But like I slept a little bit. Then I like the only place nearby there, because it's in the middle of nowhere. But like I went to like a McDonald's with the squirrel costume, like on like in the drive-through, and like the first one was definitely laughing. I mean, I had like bags under my eyes. I looked like I was on some stuff. I was just like, yeah, I need some food. Give me all you got.
Absolutely love it. She probably thought you were some animal activist coming from nowhere,
That or like a bank robber or just like some meth head. Like, there's a lot of bad I could be associated with. Luckily, I didn't get. That's actually like an underrated thing. Like after ultras, like people driving back. I mean, like I try to get rest after it, but like I said, if it's like I'm a dad and like I have to be back to my daughter. I can't stay away like from the home like that long. So like after like a big race, I'm all like you got to get back. So like I try to get as much rest as I can. But and if I feel tired at all ever, I pull over to like a rest area and sleep and stuff like that. But I think that's like kind of a scary part about ultras is coming back after, which is like. Marathons, stuff like that. Even the fall classic. I mean, the 50K takes a long time. I think the cutoff for the 50K is like 12 hours. I mean, that's a long time for 50K. That tells you how much craziness is going on out there. But I mean, like 100-mile race that you're out there for like like multiple days or something like that, and then you have to drive back. That's tough. I mean, you almost need to take off an extra day just to like go to a hotel and rest properly. But as I get older, I'm not.
It's always the logistics of the getting to the starting line, because it always starts really early and there's not a lot of transport to the starting line. And if you're doing one long course, then how do you get back? You have to get back to the starting line, which is 100 miles away from where you ran. It's just not easy.
Yeah, I try to plan out as best I can, but I want to say in ways, the prep before, like logistics, or in after, that's harder than the actual race for me. Most of the time, especially again, I've chilled out a lot just because my daughter's doing dance now, and it's like there's a lot going on with her. I don't want to be like, oh, I've got this race, I can't go, Jillian. Sorry about that. I mean, that's so horrible. But like, especially like. Before she really got into like her own sports, I was doing so many races. It's hard to come down from that. I mean, like it's almost like being an alcoholic or like just being addicted to drugs, because it's such a high, like doing all these races. So I mean, that's another thing too.
You just want more. You just want more, bigger and better ones. And one of my friends once said to me, "Colin, you're a runkie." I was like, "What? I'm a runkie?" And he goes, "Yeah, you're kind of a running junkie. You're always looking for that next high." And I'm kind of going, yeah, that's kind of true. That it is true. John, thank you so much for coming on today and chatting. This has been a lot of fun. If people's reaching out or people want to follow you or follow your story, is there anywhere they can find you?
You can find me at Breezy Trailhead on Instagram mainly. All my stuff's on there. If you want to, I got a website and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, look for me at Breezy Trailhead. And on Instagram, and you'll see a lot of like crazy Barkley stuff on there, and even my day-to-day stuff with my daughter. I mean, like honestly, the dad stuff that could be harder than the ultras, So I'm a dad. I'm a caregiver. I do a lot of other stuff in addition to running. So yeah, it's just a big adventure for me.
Yeah, you know what? You're a busy man, and if anybody has any excuses saying I don't have the time to run, check out your Instagram page, because I have 3 kids myself, and sometimes you do feel like you neglect your kids. Mine come first in my life, but you know what? We somehow always fit in a wee 100-mile, 50-mile, 40-mile marathon here and there, because you know what? That's just what keeps us happy, doesn't it?
That's what I tell my daughter. I'm like, sometimes I just need this to be a better dad. I got to get out there and unplug. But for the most part, I try to always put her first and her dancing and everything. And, it's cool. That's my favorite time. Like, like everyone likes like the baby years and stuff like that. But seeing my daughter get into her own sports and seeing what she's doing with it. I mean, I've ran 5Ks with her before and like, kid runs and stuff like that. I just love seeing her do her own sports now. Like she's so into dance and doing competitions and stuff like that. And she's strong. I mean, like I just like seeing her body grow and get stronger and getting into that athletics. It's amazing. It's a wonderful time. And yeah, you can't be so into your own stuff that you miss that. You're not getting that back. It's special and you gotta be a part of it.
We do have the rest of our lives to continue running, and hopefully there's a few more years left in us.
If anything, we're just avoiding injury doing less races. There's plenty of time to get catastrophically injured and not be able to run later.
Before you go, do you struggle to talk to other dads who are at these dance shows, and whenever they say, "Oh, how far have you ran?" I struggle to make conversation if they're not into running.
I try to be like, I'm not a boisterous person or anything like that. I just like, yeah, I like to run. I let them figure it out if they how much of an idiot I am. Like I don't let them know. Like I wouldn't be like I don't want to be that guy. Like, oh yeah, I run the Barkley Fall Classic every year. Like I'm not gonna do that to some guy that doesn't like to do sports or anything like that. Like if anything, I talk about other sports like hockey or something. Like I just I'll mention I run, and if they say they run, I'll just match it to whatever they're doing. Like if they're training for 5K, I'm like, awesome, we'll talk about that. I'm never boisterous though or anything like that. I just if anything, I'll let them lead the direction, and if they find out the stuff I've done and they want to talk about a race or something like that, they find out about hundreds, because 100 miles is so mind blowing to people. They're like, oh, then all the typical tropes or whatever come out. Oh, I can't even drive a car that far. Like everything you've heard 1,000 times, that's all going to come out. So I just try to bypass that. If you want to know about me, just I'm out there. I
always go, you haven't tried to drive a car that far. You just don't know you can do it. You can do it. No, yeah. People always say, I can't run like to myself. And I'm going, but you haven't tried. Just try. But I love to get people into running. I love speaking about running. Once you get me talking about running, you're going to be on a podcast with me for 37 minutes by now, probably. But no, as I say, thank you so much for coming on the show. And thanks for coming on to Idiot School Running and reaching out and wanting to come on the show. Absolutely incredible, John.
Yeah, and I'm gonna see you at Barkley, a Barkley Fall Classic next year. You gotta talk to lads. You gotta get in.
Here, see if I can get the flights covered, and if my kids can avoid Christmas and new school uniforms and any new thing, and they say, "Daddy, you take all the money that you spend on us, and we pay for flights over to the US." I'll be there. But let's see where that conversation goes.
Yeah, that's not going to go over well. But I hope I do see you over there. You would love it. It's a great adventure.
I would love to. As I said, at the minute with my life, and as you said, with kids coming first, you always got to get back to your family. You've always got to get back to your kids. And in the future, when I have some more expendable time, then yeah, definitely I will be over with Barclays, and I will be looking for yourself with pizza.
We'll be there. I'll bring you if you run it, I'll get you a pizza belt. That's the deal. That's the deal. So now you have to. You're gonna get a pizza belt.
But then I don't know what to do afterwards. I don't know what to do with it.
You gotta eat it. Well, actually, you'll have some time to think about it. So take your time. Take the time and ponder it. You'll have to think about what to do with it.
John, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Take care.